Ed, we've been talking all morning here on the show about the president expressing his displeasure right now with the Federal Reserve, with the interest rate increases they've been pursuing. You used to advise President Bush. If you were in the White House right now, what would you be telling President Trump to do in his dealings with the Federal Reserve?
I would tell him the same thing that I told President Bush, although President Bush didn't need me telling him, and that is basically to keep quiet. The Fed is well aware of White House interests. They're well aware of the country's interests, and the Fed has its own agenda, and its own agenda is consistent with its mandates. So I think right now the Fed is behaving properly. I think they're responsible. They're continuing the legacy that Janet Yellen had laid out over the past few years, and it's not an erratic policy. It tends to be a very smooth and gradual policy. I don't expect it to have much of an effect. I can understand why the president's worried about it, particularly now during the political season. But if you look at historically what the effect of monetary tightening was or monetary easing in the past, it hasn't been very dramatic, at least not for the past few years. So I don't expect it to have a large impact one way or the other.
But, Ed, we do know, it's Dagan McDowell, that in the past when a president put great pressure on the head of the Fed and they listened and it led to bad, lousy monetary policy, we wound up with the 1970s, whether we're talking about McChesney Martin under LBJ or Arthur Burns under Richard Nixon.
Well, that's right. But, you know, think about where we are right now. Even if the president were successful in getting the Fed to roll back its policy and move back in the other direction, which I think is almost a zero probability event, but even if he were successful in doing that, there's not that far they can roll back. Remember, our rates right now are still quite low. So there's not a lot of room for the president, even if he were successful in persuading the Fed to reverse its policy, to have much of an adverse effect on the economy in terms of inflation. So I don't see that as a major threat right now either.
He seems to be concerned about currencies, and you know, he's argued that the Chinese are manipulating their currency lower and that the Europeans are manipulating their currency lower too, and the U.S. loses. Do you think China and Europe are manipulating their currencies, and do you think that's hurting the United States?
Yeah, less so with Europe. You know, China has a monetary policy that has always been consistent with trying to follow some kind of a peg or a floating peg, or let's call it a regulated policy. But if you look historically, again, at the data, and you look at what that policy has done in terms of trade patterns, the answer is very little. So the easiest way to look at this, and again, I apologize for being a little bit technical here, but the easiest way to look at this is to look at trade patterns with the United States versus trade patterns with Europe. When you look at the RMB relative to the dollar, the exchange rate pattern is very different from the exchange rate pattern with the RMB relative to the euro, because the dollar floats relative to the euro, and the RMB, which is close to the dollar, obviously is then going to float relative to the euro as well. What that means is that we should expect very different trade patterns with Europe than we see with the United States if it were the case that monetary policy by China mattered. Answer is, that's not what you see. If you look at the pattern of trade to Europe and you look at the pattern of trade to the United States, almost identical. So even if China is manipulating its currency, it's not having a big effect on its trade patterns.
Lindsay Bell here. Just a question on trade with China and the EU, the news coming out about the auto trade situation. There seems to be no timeline, and President Trump has said he has no timeline with China, and the European trade thing is being pushed down the road. How do you see that impacting the economy near term or even longer term?
Well, again, you know, I think it's a negative thing. It's not a good thing for us to be engaging in these trade wars or even mini trade wars at this point. So it does have adverse consequences. Some of that is already baked in, but look, you know, look at the market. The market has essentially decided to shake this stuff off, primarily, I think, because it accurately predicts that the effect of these policies on the aggregate economy are going to be relatively small. Even if they're negative, they're going to be relatively small. Now, of course, the president thinks they're going to be positive. He views himself as being able to negotiate his way to a better, more open economy for the whole world in the future. If that happens, great. I spent many years in the White House watching people try to negotiate trade, try to open up things through the WTO, through the Doha round, and so forth. And that's easier said than done, and I think he's finding that right now. It's not that easy to negotiate these patterns. But again, if you think about trade, the focus on Canada and Mexico is actually properly put, because Canada and Mexico are our largest trading partners. They're the most important in terms of what we're doing. And so that's really where the action is. I hope that we don't do anything to upset that. I think those are important partners, not only in terms of trade, but also political partners. Yeah. But I think that's really what it's all about.
All right. And Ed, just to reiterate what Lindsay referred to, the Trump administration is now pushing back on this timetable for completing the controversial investigation into whether or not to impose tariffs on auto imports. The Secretary of Commerce, Wilbur Ross, did an interview with the Journal and suggested that it was taking longer than anticipated to sift through reams of materials submitted by automakers in the U.S. and around the world opposed to these new tariffs. So we'll wait for that, but the timeline's being pushed back. Ed, it's great to get your insights on all of the above. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed Lazear joining us there.